from West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the following is provided by the West Virginia Department of Education and West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Hey! Hey everyone, it's Education Station!
Hi, and welcome back to Education Station. I'm your host, Alex Milanese. Education Station is a show where we invite teachers from all across West Virginia to submit videos of themselves teaching their favorite lessons. In today's episode, we're getting 3 fantastic reading lessons. So our first stop today is with Miss Adkins, who has a fun way of looking at a classic fairy tale. Let's check it out.
Hi, I'm going to teach you a lesson on the sequence of a story. The sequence is the order of events in a story. So we need to know what happens first, and then second, and then third, and on until we get to the end of the story. It's important for us to retell the story and put the things in the right order. I have some picture cards here from a story that we probably all know. This card shows you the 3 bears. The story is Goldilocks and the 3 bears. This picture card shows you Goldilocks running away. This picture card shows you what she's doing. Oh my, what happened in this part of the story? She sat down. What happened? We all know. She broke Baby Bear's chair, didn't she? This part of the story is when Goldilocks went in, and you know what she did? She ate their porridge. This picture card shows you when Goldilocks was asleep in the Baby Bear's bed and Baby Bear finds Goldilocks. This picture card shows you that Goldilocks is still asleep in the bed, but the bears are outside. I think they're coming in. Boys and girls, these pictures are not in the right order, so we have to figure out what came first. I remember in the story, I remember this one where Goldilocks was asleep on the bed happened toward the end of the story. So I'm not going to do that. And this one was around there too, because the Goldilocks is in the bed, and I know she's asleep in the bed toward the end of the story. So now what happened first? I want to say that Goldilocks ate the porridge first, but I think there's another one. Before she went in the house, I can see in this picture that the bears are outside. So I need to find the picture card that shows the bears going for a walk to let their porridge cool. So this is not the first picture. The first picture is this one. The bears are going out for a walk. That's the first thing or event in the story. Now I'm going to look at the pictures and figure out what happened next. I know she didn't walk away. She didn't run away yet. She didn't sit in the chair. I remember after the bears go for a walk, she goes inside and Goldilocks eats their porridge. So that will be event number 2. Next, I have to think what happens. Well, let's go back and remember what we put in order so far. The 3 bears go for a walk. Goldilocks eats their porridge. I remember Goldilocks tries out the chairs next. Which picture shows chairs? This shows beds, so that's not it. She's running away when this one, so it has to be this picture. This picture shows Goldilocks trying out all the chairs. That is event number 3. So first, the 3 bears go for a walk. Second, Goldilocks eats the porridge. Third, she sits in the chair, and I remember she breaks Baby Bear's chair. Then what happens? We have 3 picture cards left. We have to figure out what happens next. Does Baby Bear wake her up next, or does she go to sleep in the bed? I think this one is last. I'm going to put it down here at the end of the story. Yes, Goldilocks went to sleep. She tried all the beds, and she found that Baby Bear's was just right, and she took a nap. Next, after Goldilocks fell asleep, the bears came home. I could see in this picture, the bears are through the window. They're on their way back. I think they're going to find her next. So I have to look for the picture card that shows the bears finding, or Baby Bear finding Goldilocks. And here it is. This is number 5. So first the bears go for a walk. Then Goldilocks eats the porridge. Then she sits in the chairs. Then she tries their beds. And she takes a nap. Then Baby Bear finds her in his bear. And I remember at the end of the story, do you know what happened? Goldilocks ran away. I would want to run away from the bears too. Okay. All right, boys and girls. This is the sequence of a story. When you put the events in an order from first, second, next, after that, all the way to the last event, that is the sequence of a story. So when you're reading, tell your families a story that they read to you. Tell them all the events and try to put them in order just like this.
Thanks, Miss Adkins. Okay, next up, I hope you're ready for story time because we're going to meet Miss Richards from Read Aloud, West Virginia of Marion County, and she has not 1, but 2 awesome stories to read to us. Let's go.
Hello, my name is Beverly Richards, and today I'd like to read a story for you that's a shorter story for our younger readers, and it is called I Love Mud, and Mud Loves Me. This was my son's first book that he read to me by himself. It's written by Vicki Stevens and pictures by Rowan Barnes Murphy. And it's an old book. I had to tape it. Here's the title page. I love mud, and mud loves me. Sam, why are you all muddy? Sorry, Mom, but I love mud, and mud loves me. Sam, why are there worms in your pockets? Oh. Sorry, Mom, but I love worms, and worms love me. Sam, why is there paint on your arms? Sorry, Mom, but I love paint. Paint loves me. Sam, why is there jam on your face? Sorry, Mom, but I love jam, and jam loves me. Sam, why is there sand in your sneakers? Can you read it with me? Sorry, Mom, but I love sand, and sand loves me. Look at the floor. Oh, no. You can read it, huh? Sam, why is there gum? Oh, no, in your hair. Sorry, Mom, but I love gum, and gum loves me. Sam, why are you taking a bath? Because I love you. And you love me. Read it again and read it to your family. Kids, you can do it. Read it. Bye. I love this book. It's one of my favorites. It's called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, as told to John Skiska, illustrated by Lane Smith. Here's the title page. The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story, because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf, but you can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault. Wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. There he is. But, like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. So, I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called. Little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed a great sneeze. Achoo! And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went on to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother, and he was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house of sticks. Well, I rang the doorbell on the stick house, and nobody answered. I called, "Mr. Pig, are you in?" He yelled back, "Go away, Wolf! You can't come in! I'm shaving the hairs on my chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. Shoo! And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down too, just like his brother's. And when the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now, you know, food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full. But my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old Granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother, and he must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, "Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And do you know what that rude little porker answered? "Get out of here, Wolf, and don't bother me again." Talk about impolite. Well, he probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear, sweet old Granny's birthday cake. What a pig! Well, I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed. And I sneezed once more. Shoo! Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old Granny can sit on a pin." Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fella, but when somebody talks about my Granny like that, well, I go a little bit crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down this pig's door. And the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and really making a big scene. Well, the rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. The real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar? Thank you. You can always compare stories, so you can compare that one to the real Three Little Pigs. And you can compare and contrast how they're the same and how they're different. And think about it. And remember, there's always more than one point of view. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, Miss Richards. Now, both of those were fictional stories because they're made up. But did you know that there's lots of other nonfiction reading that you can do right at home? For more on this topic, let's go visit Miss Ice.
Hey everybody, it's me, Mrs. Ice. How are you? Well, I don't know about you, but I have been reading like crazy since we've been on this break. One book I've been reading is Mortal Engines. I've also decided to reread Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I have a whole stack. My to-be-read stack is to the ceiling. But I did notice something about while I was going through my book stack. I noticed that almost every single thing I was reading was fiction. You know what fiction is? Fiction is stories that are made up. So I had to think, you know what? Maybe we should read a little bit of informational text. Now, let's review. You know what informational text is? Informational text are works that are written in order to give you information. We all need information. You might say, well, I don't have any informational text because I left all my textbooks at school. Maybe you don't have your social studies book or your science book. Well, informational text can be all kinds of things. They're not necessarily textbooks. And I think you'd probably be surprised how much informational text fits into your everyday life. Now, one way that you recognize informational text is by the way that the words actually look in informational text. Whenever I open up a novel, let me open up Pride and Prejudice. Take a look at it. When I open up this novel, you'll see that right here you have all these big chunks of text, and you know what those are called. Those are called paragraphs. Fiction is usually arranged in paragraphs so that you have one chunk of text and then another topic comes on, you have another chunk of text, and these are arranged in chapters. Well, informational text is arranged a little bit differently. Whenever you look at informational text, you'll see that it looks different than fiction. It just looks different. Now, why does an author do that? Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. Authors arrange informational text in certain ways so that it makes us getting that information so much easier. If a person writes an informational text, they want their reader to be able to latch on to that information as quickly and efficiently as possible. So, if I'm looking at an informational text, what am I actually looking for? Okay, let's take a look at some of the things that we might be looking for in an informational text. We want to look at what the words actually look like. Are they big? Are they bold? Are they highlighted for us? How do we know what's important? So we want to zero in on what's important. What are some other things that we can look at whenever we're looking for informational text? We'll talk about a few more and then we're going to go actually find some. Something else that we're going to be looking for is something that you guys have all seen, and that is the arrangement on the parts of the text. So what parts are most important? What do you need to look at first? First, we want to look at titles. The title is going to tell us the main subject. We're also going to look at headings. Headings are how the text is divided. We know if a heading says frogs, the parts of the text after that are going to be about frogs. Now, how do you know where to find something? You're going to look at the table of contents. The table of contents, the index, and the glossary, all are going to tell you how to find the things and the information that you need to know. I know every one of us has had a teacher say, look in the table of contents whenever you want to find something. One thing that makes informational text so exciting is the graphics. Whenever you're looking at an informational text, you're going to see a lot more images than you normally see in fiction. You might see images that are painted, images that are photographed, and also underneath the images, you're going to see what are called captions. And captions give you more information about what's in the image. So if you want to see what's in that image, you just check that caption. Also, another way to get a lot of information very quickly are graphs, charts, tables, and diagrams. Imagine if you had to read a paragraph with all the information in it that you could get from a chart and a graph. Authors do that for a reason. They want to get that information to you quickly as possible so that you can look at a graph or you can look at a chart and you can get as much information as you possibly can as quickly as possible. So now that we know what to look for, we know all about informational text features. We want to look for bold words. We want to look for what the print actually looks like. Is it bigger? Do we have some words that are bigger and more important? Do we have italics, meaning it might be the title of a work? Do we have colorful words? Words that are red or orange might want to attract our attention. Also, we want to look for how the text is arranged. Does our text have headings and subheadings and titles that will tell us what we're supposed to look at first? Also, do we see any graphics, any pictures or diagrams with labels, any of those things, charts, tables, all of those things that condense our information into one place that we can get it really, really quickly. So, as you know, it's not okay to learn something unless you're going to use it. So we're going to do a little scavenger hunt, and I have some things that I found around my house, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what text features are there. So first of all, we travel to my snack cabinet. Whenever I first looked in my snack cabinet, I saw some crackers, and I thought, hey, what's that on the side of those crackers? And I looked and I saw a table. If you look at this picture, you'll see a table. Now, inside the table, We have some words that are bold. For example, total fat. The total fat is bold, and then under it, it has some words that are not bold. That tells me that the big category, the important category, is the bold. Notice the word calories is bigger. That's one of my text features that tells me that that's more important. Let's go on and see something else that we found in Miss Ice's house. Now, what do I see here? I turned around in my kitchen and I saw a cookbook. Take a look at this page from the cookbook that has a recipe for chocolate cake. Notice how the ingredients are bold and they're arranged in sort of a table. It's a list, but it's kind of like a table. Also, you have some bold words inside the passages too, and then there's headings at the top, a title. So no matter where we look, even in the kitchen, we see informational text. You might say, well, Mrs. Ice, that's the kitchen. Maybe there's just a lot of informational text in the kitchen. Aha, I sense a challenge. Let's go to the garage and see what we can find in the garage. So here in the garage, we have the fender of a mostly dismantled four-wheeler. What do I see? The first thing I see is a big highlighted orange area with the word warning. The words are bold and they're highlighted. What are those? Those are informational text features. Look on down. We have red, we have a table, we have bold words, we have all kinds of informational text features right in the garage. So I found informational text features all over my house. I found them in the kitchen, I found them in the living room, I even found them in the garage. So here's your scavenger hunt challenge. Take a break from your fiction reading for just a moment and go around your house and outside your house and all over the place and see if you can find some informational text features. Then share that information with somebody in your house and they'll be very impressed with all the interesting things that you know.
All right, that wraps up everything for us here today on Education Station. We want to thank all the teachers who submitted their fun lessons, and we want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Education Station.